Welcome to this month's episode, all about Otay Ranch real estate, where we're going to go over data and trends so you can make the best real estate decisions when buying or selling a home. My name is John Stenberg. I've been a broker for 35 years in Chula Vista. I currently live in Otay Ranch, and I've been involved in over 2,400 transactions since the start of my career. So I hope I can give you some good intel on what's happening in today's market. So let's get started. So I get asked all the time, John, how's the market? Well, it really depends if you're buying, selling, investing, or renting. So I'm going to touch base on all four of these items in today's episode. Let's start where we are and why we're here. Let's go back in 2020 of March. We recorded the lowest inventory in history ever, followed by the largest rate hike ever in history in June. And then we had the largest and fastest drop in home prices from June to December in history in 2022. In my opinion, that was a correction, and that is a nominal. We won't probably see what happened in 2022 probably ever again. The Fed just raised the rates to 5.5%. So our 30-year fixed rate currently right now, early August, this is being filmed, is around 7 to 7.25. Since 2008, the builders just did not have the confidence to build. And so we are behind between 8 and 9 million units being built across the nation right now. So we're really behind on home starts. We doubled in interest rates from last year, nearly, from 3%, 3.5%, all the way up to, as I just mentioned, nearly 7%. And nearly 65% of all homeowners have a rate around 4% and under right now. And then lastly is that a survey just came out that every homeowner that used to move every 8.5 years now is moving every 14 years. And that brings me to an inventory shortage across the nation and here locally in Otay Ranch. Despite the doubling of rates, we have a wave of demand of buyers wanting to get into the market. So that puts a lot of pressure on prices going upward. And let's talk about prices. The median price home as of August 1st in Otay Ranch right now is $949,450. Let's put things in perspective. March 2020, let's go back to that. The median price home back then was $635,000. That's a nearly 32% increase since the pandemic started. So that's on an average of a homeowner, nearly $300,000 in appreciation, believe it or not. Let's talk about what else has happened nationwide and also locally. Nationwide, since March 2020, 42% has increased in appreciation. And in San Diego in general was 52%. So here locally, once again, we're up 32% since March 2020. Inventory. Let's talk about inventory for a minute here. As of this morning, we have currently 18 homes on the market. That's a 50% decrease since last year. Remember what I said? Last year, we had an all-time low in history as an inventory. Well, we actually have 50% less than last year. And also on condos, attached properties, townhomes, we only have 9 condos for sale in the entire zip code of 91913. That's 67% decrease in inventory. So as you can see, we have an inventory issue here. Let's talk about some general numbers. In San Diego in general, between single family homes and condos, we have about 2,461 homes currently on the market right now. And last year, about this time, we had just over 4,600 homes. And again, remember last year was the lowest year recorded in history as an inventory. And now we're beating it once again here in 2023. Now let's put things in perspective. When we were in the COVID era in 2020, March, April, May, June, we actually had nearly 7,000 homes for sale on the market. So we are now third of that currently. Let's talk a little bit about sales. In 2022, we had nearly 6.5 million sales in the United States, we're projected to have about 4.3 million sales this year. And let's go over rents right now in Otay Ranch in the 91913 zip code. The average rent for a single family home is now at $4,150. And an attached condo or townhome, rents are up on an average right now at $3,200 a month. Let's talk also about trends, what I'm seeing in the marketplace right now, and specifically in Otay Ranch. I do see prices staying very strong until the third and fourth quarter, depending if rates do go up at 7.5% to 8%. The factor will be the affordability factor. So that's where I see prices actually stabilizing. Inventory may grow a little bit more, hopefully, for those home buyers out there, but I still see the trend moving upward instead of down, where a lot of experts are saying that we may decline by the end of the year. So I just don't see it right now, but let's talk more about it in the third quarter. I also see nearly 65% of all listed homes are going over list price, between 2.5% all the way up to about maybe 11 to 12%. I just saw one the other day at $75,000 over list price. It closed last month here in Otay Ranch. I just saw another one at $120,000 over list price when it closed. And by the way, those properties were not priced below market. They are priced at fair market value when they sold that much over. This is a great study that just came out for Chula Vista for home buyers. So this is strictly for those buyers that are always asking me, is this a good time to buy? Well, Chula Vista was just named the most affordable place to live in the entire San Diego. This is a company based out of Chicago that does surveys on just about every zip code in the United States. And they named Chula Vista the most affordable city in San Diego. So that's some good news for buyers. And another thing that I see what buyers are doing in Otay Ranch is that they don't mind paying a higher rate right now at 7%. Surprisingly, that is the norm. I think they just think this is going to be the norm. So they don't mind paying the interest rate. They don't mind paying the list price, since property values have went up quite a bit over the last year to 2 years, but they don't want to go ahead and buy a home that needs paint, carpet, updated countertops. They don't want to redo a backyard. They don't want to spend another $100,000 if they're going to pay over list price. So I did my own survey. I went through about 22 homes on a Saturday and Sunday a couple weekends ago. And I saw out of the 22 homes, nearly 35% of the homes, the real estate agent and seller, it might have been the seller's fault or the agent's fault, putting their properties on the market as is. They didn't declutter. They didn't do any deep cleaning. They didn't stage it. I went back to all 35% of those homes, and nearly 90% of them actually sold about between 4 and 8% below market. So that's what they don't have in the news right now. Properties are still selling below market if they're not staged, if they're not decluttered, if they're outdated. Buyers, again, don't mind paying the high rate, the high price, but they don't want to renovate an outdated home. So take that in mind if you're thinking about selling in the future. That is a trend that I'm seeing quite a bit. Another trend that I'm seeing is that 55% of all sales that closed last month in Otay Ranch all had a rent back. Now, the rent back could be from 2 weeks to 4 weeks to 6 weeks. They could be free. They could be paid for by the buyer's payment on a daily basis. It just really depends on how the transaction went down at the very beginning, if it's going to be free or actually paid by the buyer. Okay, that's another trend that if you're thinking about selling that or buying a home in Otay Ranch, you got to think about there might be a rent back included. So you got to take that in mind. Also, what is very hot working with buyers currently right now, buyers want a 1-bedroom ensuite for in-laws, guests, an office. They just want something downstairs that they can work with as an ensuite. Also, what they're looking for, believe it or not, are pools. Pools are very popular right now, and they're getting a lot of value on the resale end. And case in point, I saw a property recently close. I shook my head and said, wow, I couldn't believe the price per square foot. But when I looked at the property, it was a standard property here in Otay Ranch, but they had an incredible pool and entertainment area in the backyard, and it sold for nearly $90,000 over list price. And another thing that people are always focused on, the Gen Xers and the baby boomers right now, they're focused on a one story. So if you have a one story, you're golden. You're going to probably have multiple offers and people fighting over your home right now. I hope this month's segment on Otay Ranch Real Estate was helpful for you. Why I'm doing this is to actually help you make the most intelligent decisions on buying or selling a home here in Otay Ranch. And if you're thinking about relocating, feel free to reach out to me regarding our relocation network across the nation. If you're thinking about moving, let's say, to Texas or Florida, Nevada, Arizona, I'm here to help. Also, our moving services as well. Even if you're moving locally, we have services that can give you some huge discounts on your moving. Again, if you're thinking about selling or buying a home, feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to sit down with you or over the phone to go over a consult for 15 to 30 minutes. Again, thank you for watching. I'll see you next month.